one of the things that I struggle with, and I didn't figure it out till later on in life, was around hardship, pain, difficulty, the lessons that one can learn from those areas. And that's natural and normal, and that's the stuff that makes us tougher and more resilient to deal with the later challenges. But I want you to talk about it from the framework of this particular statement. The spirituality or the spiritual majesty of suffering.
Okay, the spiritual majesty of suffering. What a beautiful way to put that, because if you can wrap your head around that, which I can because it just makes me smile and I love that. Again, like I said earlier, in terms of we're here to have experiences, and not all experiences are going to be, rosy, sunshiny, everything's perfect kind of time. So to be able, for me, how I've adjusted and learned with that, and this didn't all come just right out of college. I mean, you have to have experience in some life lessons to probably really wrap your head around that. But if I could have done it earlier and somebody would have actually used that sentence, what you just said to me, I feel like I would have been able to grab it earlier, and maybe more positive experiences would have happened during the course of my life. But again, it didn't. But the wisdom that comes out of taking experiences, and whether you use the word spirituality, and I love that, because I do, as life has gone on for me, become a more spiritual person in the terms of awareness and mindfulness. But to hold on to those things, to try and make a difference once you've learned, and to help others, it's just such a beautiful way to give back, which is a lot of what I do in terms of the mentoring. I do a lot of mentoring for women veterans. And I'm going to use your line right now, this spirituality piece, because if they can grab onto that early on and not beat yourself up so much, because we're all full of boo-boos. It's just going to happen. But to learn from those and to make a difference in yourself to be a better person is a much happier road to go down than beating yourself up and condemning yourself, and because that just spews out onto everybody else around you too. And who wants that? Being around more positive people, and those who do have that spirituality, awareness, and mindfulness can easily make you a better person too. So thank you for that question. I love that.
So Jill, let's utilize some of your leadership ability and the skills that you've developed through life, and talk a little bit to the young people out there about effective listening, active listening, effective speaking, dealing with people, how to take connections and make them meaningful relationships. Can you share with us a little wisdom and speak to the youth of today, please?
I wish somebody would have spoken some things into my life at an earlier age. Things that really helped in my leadership. I did have some awesome mentors as I was going through my career. And one of the, there's a couple of things that I could really share with the youth of today. And just recently I've heard it put this way, and I love how this sounds. If you can learn to bridle your tongue, and I love that. I know that's right out of the Bible, but it's a friend of ours, Lee Warren, has been using that in a podcast that he does, and I've been listening to this for quite some time now. But before just learning that, I was able to actually do that back in the day, to just be quiet enough to listen before I want to jump into and be a part of a conversation that I may not know anything about, or I may be way too emotional to dive in right away and just start throwing things out there that don't make any sense. So being a really, really good listener, taking time to just sit back and listen. And there's where, if you're having disagreement with anybody, because I was working with soldiers that they were just so upset and, just couldn't seem to wrap their heads around anything except to yell. You just sit back, and isn't that interesting? You can say that, you don't have to say that out loud. It would probably be kind of degrading to do that to somebody, but inside yourself, just quiet yourself enough in the midst of a storm to be able to take in and listen has been so effective. And that is exactly how I learned again from mentors, from my dad especially, to be able to harness that can make such a difference as you go through life. And you earn a lot of respect that way, because you don't end up with a reputation of a hothead. I had one amazing mentor, Colonel Dan Laban, who, whenever he heard a service member cuss, he would just put his arm around that service member and say, you're so much better than that. And I love that. It's just, I never tried to be, one of the guys, never out there trying to use all the 4-letter words in the book to be tough. You don't need to do that. So the being quiet and listening, and then thinking things through and being able to then turn around. And one of the most important things I learned about being a leader was, once someone has shared something with you, to try and top their story with something of yours is a non-starter. But to be able to say, now let me see if I heard you correctly, changes the dynamics in the room completely, because that person knows, number one, you were listening. Number two, that you were trying to then decipher exactly what they were trying to say and get it right so that they have been heard. 9 times out of 10, people just want to be heard. So if you can harness those two things by effective listening and speaking then back in a nice tone and asking questions and trying to get more answers, I'll tell you, it would make a huge, huge difference as you go through life. So those are probably the most effective things I've learned.
This has been a truly amazing moment spent with my really good friend and my classmate. And we hope that you've enjoyed it. In fact, we hope that you've learned a lot, and you can share the video. And if you want to reach out to us, send us an email at sportsconnections757@aol.com. And if you have some questions for Jill, shoot me the questions, and we'll see if we can get her back on the 757 Sports Connection and have her share some more wisdom, some golden nuggets, and really wonderful time with each one of us. Thanks again, Jill.